President, the Office of Government Ethics is an agency that independently works to oversee the executive branch's ethics program. The director serves a 5-year term in this instance, leading work that prevents financial conflicts of interest and ensures that the executive branch, regardless of political party, holds itself to the highest ethical standards. Mr. President, our nation has been without a Senate-confirmed director to this critical agency for more than a year. We say that again, more than a year. But fortunately, we have a highly qualified nominee for this post, one who has received support from both Democrat and Republican senators, including senators on the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, which I used to chair. Since 2016, David Heidemann has served as the Assistant Legal Advisor for Ethics and Financial Disclosure at the Department of State. In this role, he has the responsibility of managing the department's ethics program. Previously, he served as an attorney advisor at the Department of State, worked in private practice for several years, and completed a clerkship at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Mr. Heidemann has a deep and thorough knowledge of the law and of ethics compliance. In addition to his range of experience at the State Department and in private practice, I have no doubt that his skills and his experience will enable him to effectively lead the Office of Government Ethics. I ask unanimous consent that the Senate consider the following nomination. Calendar number 620, David Heidemann, to be Director of the Office of Government Ethics for a term of 5 years, and that the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate. That if confirmed, the motion be, if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered and made and laid upon the table, and the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection? The Senator from Utah.
Object. Directing the Office of Government Ethics is an important position due to the office's role in aiding the President with the nominations process and assistance to the Senate in evaluating potential conflicts of interest for presidential nominations. This point was, of course, made clear in Mr. Heidemann's his GAC hearing as he testified to the committee that the nominee vetting would be a priority, not just a priority, but priority one for the Office of Government Ethics and would dominate the next year, meaning the year that it's about to arrive. Given the fact that this position serves, once confirmed, for a 5-year term, it's also important for us to remember that we are now just a few weeks away from a presidential election that will determine who will serve as President of the United States for the next 4 years. So in light of that, we should wait to see who's elected before confirming this person to a 5-year term. It's concerning to me that during his hearing before the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, Mr. Heidemann left open the possibility of supporting a partisan policy or a partisan approach from a nonpartisan position, one that could be used as a means of further weaponizing our government against officials who might be appointed should President Trump win in a Republican administration. Individuals responsible with directing the Office of Government Ethics must not engage, promote, or tolerate partisan lawfare, particularly in the midst of unprecedented lawfare and political weaponization of the U.S. government against Donald Trump by the Biden-Harris administration. I've got grave concerns that have led me to oppose their partisan nominees and policies considered in this chamber, particularly between now and the election. The Biden-Harris administration forfeited that courtesy when they decided that they wanted to govern more like a banana republic than the United States of America. Now, after these 2 assassination attempts that we've seen so far on Donald Trump, continued lawfare by Democrats at both state and national levels, and unacceptable rhetoric from Vice President Harris, who has brought foreign leaders to campaign for her in a key battleground state. It's clear that they've changed their tune. And so I'm not going to change my tune. We have to remember that the President of the United States at any given moment, for constitutional purposes, is the executive branch, is the living embodiment of the executive branch. This is an office that really ought to be filled, at least with members being allowed to take into account the outcome of a coming presidential election. With that presidential election just weeks away, there's no reason this has to be done today. In fact, there are very, very good reasons for us not to do it today. Let's take this up after the presidential election. That's the appropriate time to raise this. If Mr. Hagerty is willing to further clarify his position and the next sitting president appoints him to fill the position, I'm happy to revisit this question. Until then, I object.
The objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from Michigan.
Mr. President, I will ask for unanimous consent to confirm Raquel Boucher and John Trong to be associate judges for the District of Columbia Superior Court. The D.C. Superior Court functions as the state-level trial court in the nation's capital. Vacancies on the Superior Court bench have been straining the court, delaying justice for individuals and families all across the district. Judge Boucher and Mr. Trong each have the expertise and the temperament needed to serve on the Superior Court and are committed to serving the people of the District of Columbia. Judge Boucher has served as a magistrate judge for the District of Columbia Superior Court since 2016 and is currently the deputy presiding magistrate judge. Prior to joining the bench, Judge Boucher served as a clinical law professor and spent over 15 years in private practice, focusing on family and criminal law. Mr. Trong is currently a deputy chief in the Civil Division of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, where he has served since 2013. He previously served as the assistant U.S. attorney in the Office Criminal Division, where he prosecuted misdemeanor and felony crimes in the D.C. Superior Court. Mr. President, these are not controversial nominees. They were vetted and recommended to the President by an independent local commission and received bipartisan support in my committee. In fact, former President Trump has also nominated Judge Boucher and Mr. Trong to serve on the D.C. Superior Court. The people of the district deserve to have the empty seats on the Superior Court filled by qualified judges, and I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting these nominees. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate consider the following nomination, calendar number 770, Raquel Boucher to be an associate judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, that the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, and that if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection?
Mr. President?
Senator from Tennessee.
I object.
I consider the following nomination, calendar 771, John Trong to be the Associate Judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, that the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, and that if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and the President to be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection?
Mr. President?
Senator from Tennessee.
I object. Mr. President, reserving the right to object. This summer, several of us made clear that given the unprecedented lawfare by the Biden-Harris administration against President Trump, we will not consent to fast-tracking any judicial nominees before the coming election. And we're keeping our word on that. If Democrats truly want these nominees confirmed, Senator Schumer can schedule them for votes. The truth is, They don't care enough about these nominations to do that. They're not trying to, so they're trying to confirm them this way with the fast-track process. Like, I have firsthand experience with this process. In 2017, Senate Democrats forced floor votes and 30 hours of post-cloture time on my confirmation to be U.S. ambassador to Japan under President Trump. So I'm not standing in the way of confirmation. As promised, though, I will not fast-track judicial confirmations before the election when the American people will get a chance to reject the politicized administration of justice that is occurring here in America right now. We clearly stated this position and now are following through on it. Therefore, I object.